What highly illegal thing took place at your high school? Two students planned and carried out a coordinated attack on one of the math teachers by waiting by the top of the stairs between periods, and when he passed by them to go down the steps, one of them pushed him from behind, while the other put his leg out to trip him. The teacher fell down the steps and broke his neck and back, and was paralyzed from the neck down. The kid's reasoning, because one of them was dropped from the basketball team because he was failing that teacher's math class. Both of them were 15 years old, so they didn't get jail time. They both got expelled and were sent to juvenile detention. The teacher sued the school district and got a settlement in the lower 7-digit range. Our football coach took off with one of the girls in the high school and moved to Mexico and married her. He had a wife and kids. They then hired a brand new football coach who was 23 years old. Before the end of his first year, he was hooking up with an 18-year-old senior girl. They also took off and went somewhere. We went without a coach for a couple years. I interviewed to teach at a high school once. One of the questions from the school board was, can you avoid sleeping with your students? Me, yes I can. School board thinks I'm great. Principal thinks I'm great. Superintendent of schools doesn't think I'm cut out for the job, gives me the runaround. Principal is trying to help me push through it and get hired, but I finally give up and get a normal job elsewhere. Superintendent hires his nephew, wonder why he gave me the runaround, who promptly has sex with a student and gets fired. I still see the principal occasionally, he always apologizes, I wanted to hire you. He's way too nice to have been stuck at that lousy school. My teacher was molesting my 14-year-old classmate for a while. He went to jail and is still there 20 years later because another past victim came forward, so that's pretty illegal. We had a softball coach sleep with his students, but a far more interesting story that didn't technically take place on school grounds. There was this kid who was constantly being harassed by bullies. They would even follow him after school and attack him. So there was this hardware store across the street and a lot of kids would hang out in the parking lot after school. The bullies chased the kid inside and cornered him in the garden section. They kept hitting and kicking him, so the dude grabbed an axe from one of the shelves and just started swinging. All the bullies ended up in the hospital with various injuries. Security camera got the whole thing, but I can't remember now if Jimly son of Gloin was charged or if it was ruled self-defense. Update, I followed up with my sister, who actually knew the kids involved better than me. She was closer to their age. The news articles that came out at the time didn't really talk about the pattern of abuse that led to the axe kicking, but she did confirm that Jimly was sent to juvenile corrections for a while. She remembered when he got out, and as far as she knew he was doing well. Had a guy selling heroin. After that there was a weekly police presence. Also, a kid bound a girl to a chair, gagged her and stuffed her in a cupboard in the woodworking shop. He claims it was to help her complete the sponsored silence she had been doing that day. A bunch of the guys had a fight club. It had been going on 4 years, no face hits, and there was a 18 and 18 group, so if they got caught nobody got assault on a minor charges. It was actually really well planned and had been going on 4 years until one Dumbus Jr. broke the first rule of Fight Club and posted a video. A bunch of kids got suspended. I think a couple of the seniors got probation or deferment. The cheerleaders got caught selling morphine. The football team got into a brawl with a rival school at a local pizza place over said morphine scandal. A huge fiasco over a kid putting baking soda and vinegar in a test tube and sealing it and taping it under a lunch table till it exploded. Had a pretty controversial case involving a handicapped student who had cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy. His parents filed a lawsuit accusing 2 of his handlers of abusing him by dumping him out of his chair and forcing him to wear a neck brace so he'd look them in the eye. Worst part was I don't think the handlers suffered any consequences. I looked up articles on it and all of them highlight the abuse and lawsuit, but none follow through with the results, which is frustrating. The principal hired a bunch of students to sell steroids at the local gym. Same principal gave the same students a list of kids who were questioning their sexuality with the counselor before GSAS were a thing, and they all had their lockers bashed in with a baseball bat. One of the kids had his parents notified and was beat within an inch of his life. Art teacher used to hotbox her classroom and then use the kiln fan to pull all the smoke out. A teacher sexually harassed like 12 students. The issue is everybody loved that guy. He won Best Teacher award like 2 days before his arrest. PS. No, this isn't Persona 5. This actually did happen. I'm not making a clever joke about Kamoshida, although I probably would have. This was a real guy. One Mr. Chu. Not highly illegal, but not legal either. I figured out how to make fake ids in my home darkroom and showed a friend how to do it. This was in the early 70s, before Photoshop, when analog darkrooms and chemical-based photography were the only option. He went into production in the school darkroom. His quality sucked. He got caught. My quality was excellent, but I only made one for me. Pre-internet days, kinda, CDs were a thing. I had a massive CD collection in a gigantic book in my locker. I typed up lists of all the artists and albums I owned. So I had these flyers everywhere, and for $3 a CD I'd burn you a copy. This was right when CD burners came out, and my stepdad was super into the latest and greatest tech, so we had the cool gadgets when they came out. I eventually was caught, but for a time I made killer money. The cool gang of kids, not me, I've never been anywhere near cool. Got into a dare contest which ended up with one of them having to get a pair of knickers from a particular girl. She didn't want to play the game, so he ended up cornering her in a boys' toilet and cutting them off her with a knife. We never saw him at the school again. All games were banned. A special ed kid got jumped by a dude on his way to school and was beaten bloody. The whole thing was recorded by the guy's girlfriend and her friend. The whole time they were cheering him on, yelling things like "World Star" and so on. She later posted it on Instagram, which pissed off everyone, and just about everyone wanted to beat the dude up in the vid. He was given temporary suspension. Fucking BS. While the police took care of him. From what I know, he was given a assault charge. Also, side note, there was a girl at my school who was in minor league boxing who was ready to beat him up. She even tried looking for him by his house. A teacher got banned from the school district because he put all of the big-chested female students at the front of his classes and stared at them. A teacher got suspended for telling a black kid to go kill himself. A guy used to wander around the parking lot asking anyone who walked by cocaine. Want some cocaine? Little bit of backstory first. Our school had a big renovation ongoing, and because of that, almost half of the school was closed down. The closed part included the biggest bathrooms, and because of that, the school administration ordered 2 toilet barracks to be placed on the schoolyard. So, some 9th graders decided to buy some toilet pipe opener liquid, I don't know what is the correct term, and aluminium foil. They put the aluminium foil inside some plastic bottles and poured a little pipe opener in them with the foil. As someone has probably done this before, knows what is going to happen next. They stuck 6 bottles total inside the toilet bowls in every stall of one barrack and blew them up due to the chemical reaction between the foil and the opener. All the pipings of the single barrack were destroyed due to water pressure inside the pipes. Turns out that the 2 barracks had connected pipings, and the water that was in the bowls in the other barrack shot up to the ceiling due to pressure. The students never got caught, and if I remember correctly, the incident ended up costing a hefty amount for the school administration. The barracks were taken away and were replaced with new ones. After the incident, every recess there was a teacher in front on the barracks monitoring everyone going in and out. Nothing happened to the new toilets. My ex brought a gun to school and threatened to shoot me and my new boyfriend. Edit. This happened in the Philippines about 8 years ago. Our high school wasn't on the K-12 system, so we had 4-year levels and around 80 students per year level. This was in our 3rd year. We were all the same year, and everybody involved kept going to that school. The rest of the students and faculty heard about it, and eventually it got to some parents. The mother of my new boyfriend did not appreciate the fact that her son was threatened with a gun, so she tried to take legal action. The mother of my ex-boyfriend did not appreciate this, and since my ex and I had a turbulent history which I've posted about here, she tried to take legal action as well. Nothing ever came of either of those attempts, though. He didn't get suspended, he didn't get into any trouble for it at all, and actually graduated with honors, I think. The professors didn't offer counseling to any of us. There were no heightened security measures, no seminars on safety. My parents initially didn't believe my account of it and didn't file a restraining order. The whole mess was basically swept under the rug. Spanish teacher got arrested for illegally bringing over a 14-year-old Argentinian girl and keeping her as a sex toy. But since she was here illegally and wouldn't testify against him, she was deported, and he came back to school later in the year. Come to find out, a couple of years later he had molested like half of the girls' volleyball team he was the coach of. This came up in a previous thread some time ago. I went to an incredibly shitty school in London that was in special measures by the time I left at 18 after a year with about 50% attendance and 3 U grades at A level. It is apparently doing fairly well now, since it has been amalgamated into the fold of a local superhead who runs several schools across the surrounding boroughs. But I will paste what I shared last time, since people seem to like it then. We had many dog hammer fight in my first week. Rush day. 1 day per year the kids in E7 would just get random beats. A couple of stabbings a year. Kid locked the woodwork teacher in the toilets. Woodwork teacher kicked the door off its hinges and set about the kid the very same way. Someone stole all the computers from the computer room. Kid was stripped and all his clothes and belongings were doused in lighter fluid and burned. Head teacher left for lunch one day and never came back. Our only person making the timetables was the admin/business teacher. Died of a heart attack during a class. Starting the following year, no classes were organized for 2 months. Graduation year A2, to boot, still received weekly notices about attendance during that period. History teacher got pregnant by another teacher. Conception apparently on site. They weren't in a relationship. Someone started a rumor that she was raped, and he was also a pedophile. He had to leave the school. Superhead brought in to get us shipshape, known for taking no shit and turning schools around. Made her quit her entire decades-long career. Couldn't hire new teachers. Woodworking dept was abandoned after previous incident. Kid trapped another kid in there with a mind to reenact some hostile shit and tried to slice his femoral artery with a sharpened file. Oh, here's my time to shine. Someone smeared peanut butter all over the allergy table. Someone spray painted a swastika and wrote homophobic and racist messages all over the walls. A lot of people bring drugs and alcohol. Someone took all the fire extinguishers and set them off in the cafeteria. Someone threatened to bomb the school multiple times. Someone beat up a teacher. Someone assisted a suicide attempt. Someone caught 2 foreign exchange students having sex with each other in the girls' bathroom during the lunch period. This isn't technically illegal, but someone started default dancing during the moment of silence on 9/11. What a mad lad. A terrorist bomb exploded just in front of our school when I was in middle school. We were studying when it happened. There was a big smoke. Glasses were shattered. Everybody rushed outside. As soon as they heard the explosion, I just stood dumbstruck in my seat for a full 10-6 before being able to move. Years later, this is still the most overwhelming experience in my life. Grew up in a small town. When a lamb got sick and was dying, our ag teacher just had us go out behind the classroom building and shoot it. We ended up pulling a massive tapeworm out of it. Definitely not legal to have guns on campus, let alone use them. TL. Dr. Guy bashed another guy's skull in over tugs. One afternoon a while after school was over, a couple kids started a drug deal. The basher Goliath, he lived up to that name too. Absolute unit, was a renowned druggie who did every drug known to man and 7 only known to dolphins. And the Bishi, whom I'll call Carl, tried to sell Goliath some heroin strong enough to kill a baby elephant. Goliath proceeds to take some and test it out on the spot, but proceeds to notice that it is a bit weaker than promised and was basically no stronger than water. Goliath, a bit angry he was undersold, grabs Carl and smashes his head into TJ's nearest brick wall repeatedly until parts of Carl's brain splatter over the wall. Goliath snaps back to reality, realizing what he just did, and fucking runs like a madman, as anyone in that situation would. He was caught, however, and given a long sentence. Not sure if he is still out there alive, or if he got his head bashed by a bigger Goliath. Note, I was not there to witness it in action, so take this with a grain of salt or 12. A lot of it is what I heard. However, I did see the brains on the wall with my own eyes, and Carl's quick, most definitely not open casket funeral. 3 from when I lived in FL. Someone thought it would be funny to leave baby powder in the boys' bathroom and got the school locked down for an anthrax attack. We didn't get to go home until 7 p.m. Bomb threats. So many bomb threats. Legit race war. Super racist skinheads attacked a Puerto Rican student during lunch outside, blindsided him with a lunch tray. He started yelling. Massive fight broke out. 30+ students arrested. My friends and I watched from the other side of the courtyard in awe. Got to enter a witness report to police too. Child pornography filming. 2 underage seniors from my graduating class filmed a full-on porno with some 20-year-old dude. Circulated to like 30 kids in the class and was a huge scandal for the school for a while. One of them was expelled while the other was just given a suspension cause she otherwise had a clean record and was on one of the sports teams. Not sure if they ever found the dude. Half my school burned down because some idiot thought it would be a good idea to light a wrestling mat on fire. Pro tip, wrestling mats are very flammable. Weren't able to have sports all year, talent shows and concerts in the auditorium. Benefit was we got 2 weeks off from school while they vented/cleaned up the mess. All I can remember was the kid was a minor, so the parents pretty much owed millions to the school. Update, just googled the kid's name and found out he died a year later in a car accident near the school he transferred to because he was expelled obviously. A good friend of my dorky group brought contraband Russian vodka to high school all the time. He ran a scam selling fake web hosting and once got into real trouble for making one of these shock websites, a largoc, with malicious code in it that forced you to physically restart the computer if you wanted out of it. Yes, he got into trouble because he made another kid's name appear on it, implying he was the guy being featured in the shocking porno. Other than that, my high school only had the usual things. Drug dealers, thieves, and a certain teacher that tried to coerce girls into giving him sexual favors in exchange of grades, and failing miserably.